Welcome to today's video, everybody. Level in Diecast. Yes, 5 more oddities from the collection. 5 more oddballs to take a look at. This is going to count as one item because we got 2 different colors. It will be one single oddball. Cool Chick Auto, of course, from MSZ Diecast. Not a brand that is sold in the US. None of this stuff. Although some CCA stuff you can get through online retailers and stuff. MSZ, you might find at some very weird kind of left field retailers in the US, but for the most part these are not available here domestically. 1/64 scale AE86, yes, the Corolla. This one looks interesting. You see the back of the card art is in every other language, obviously not sold here. I did pick these up from a buddy of mine named Nick in a Mess Collection on Instagram if you want to follow him. He also sells on there as well. Red and white. So we'll go ahead and get the white one cracked open. Nothing particularly fancy with these. They do have some suspension details. Other than that, I'm not 100% sure what they got. So here is our Corolla. It definitely has very Matchbox-like wheels on the side, which look okay. Taillights printed up, looks decent. The paint is pretty average. A little bit of print for the headlight covers. Those don't pop up or nothing like that. Pretty good prints on the front. It says AE86 on the plate. Some base deets right there. Oh, look at that. It actually works. Oh, what? Look at that. Headlights actually work. So the headlights actually pop up. That's as far up as they go, but there's some print on there. That's kind of cool. Little actuator right here at the bottom. Like pretty much every single other pop-up headlight model that's ever been made. The same type of actuator. That's pretty cool. I didn't think there would be an actual usage to that, but that's pretty cool. So it says 1/64 scale on the package, but on the model it says it is 1/55 scale, because of course they put the little asterisk here, but of course right there it says it is actually 1/64 scale, so don't let them fool you. Of course, licensed, used under license, does have nice suspension on it as well. So the suspension is really, really nice. Really, really squishy. Really like that a lot. Held together by a couple of screws. That is pretty cool. So a little bit closer to like, and this is of course right-hand drive. You can kind of see in there. This is of course more on the scale of like Majorette. Definitely bigger scale than Hot Wheels or Matchbox or anything like that. And then this one in red, nothing particularly fancy. It'll just be a different color. Of course, they make a ton of different models. It's not just the AE86. They make a ton of other ones. But that's the only one that were available to me. So there is the red one. Still pretty straightforward. The details in the back are the same. They look okay. Details on the front, same prints, all that good stuff like that. And of course, the pop-up headlights. There you go. Ka-chink. Those open up a little bit bigger, so you can see a little bit more of that headlight print. But I think that little headlight print needed to be a bit bigger, but it's still pretty cool. It's still pretty cool. The model itself feels relatively cheap in hand. When you're holding it, it definitely feels cheaper. It definitely feels like holding like one of those Maesto Adventure Force cars. Not trying to dog on them. It's a nice model. It doesn't have that heft of a Hot Wheels or a Matchbox car. It just doesn't. All right. Yes, more Russian diecast. 1/43 scale Lada. This one is pretty cool. Made in USSR. In the box, there is, of course, the couple of the other ones that they do. The Vaz 2101 and the 2102, which is, of course, the wagon or the sedan. So this one looks like it was originally 1650. Could have been rupees or whatever the currency is there in Russia, potentially, when it was new. But this is not taped or anything like that, so we're going to be a little bit gentle when we take this out of the container. It comes with a piece of styrofoam in there. I'm not sure if the styrofoam was factory or not, but there is some print on the side. Of course, it is all in Russian. I'm sure somebody could tell me what it means, but this could be some type of patrol car, maybe a taxi. Not really sure. There's a light on the top. Details on the back look pretty cool. The taillight are lensed, which is pretty nice. Has an opening trunk. Trunk looks very, very good. So close that up right there. No opening doors or anything, but it does have an opening hood. I think it opens the opposite direction. Nope. Oh, well, look at that. It does open the opposite direction. I knew it did. I knew it. There is the detail underneath the hood. Little 4-cylinder looks like. It was rear-wheel drive. There's battery detail in there. Some type of red jeweled detail. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like a coolant reservoir, if that's supposed to be windshield washer fluid, who knows. But very, very cool hinge for the hood there to get that to open up and away from the top, which is really, really cool. Details on the front look very nice, crisp. The little bit of red print right there on the logo right there in the middle, a little bit off, just a little bit off. It does have soft tires. They're kind of rubber, And then let's see, they kind of have suspension on there, not particularly, but there is some suspension on there. It's not flexibility in the parts. It's actually supposed to be suspension, but sometimes it doesn't really work, especially on the front end on a lot of these models. There is the base deets right there. Probably some manufacturing details, some other stuff like that. There is, of course, the model, the BA3-2101, made in Russia, of course. Back in the day, super, super cool, though. I have a ton of these 1/43rd scale Russian cars, and I just think they're the coolest thing ever. Very, very left field, very oddball stuff, very, very not common, and I really, really like that. You guys know that's how we roll on the channel. We like the very weird and very interesting stuff. All right, a couple of more Chinese branded models. These are QY Toys. You see right there, QY Toys. This, of course, is the Land Rover Defender 110. All in Chinese or Japanese writing, or maybe even Korean writing. I'm not even entirely sure. It just says Alloy Car 1/64 scale, QY Toys. Now, I can tell you when you look at these boxes, you're like, wow, these things are going to be tiny. They're going to be super, super tiny. That is not the case. That is not the case. This box is definitely seen better days. This particular box right here, so need a little bit of help to get that one open. Bought these used. I wasn't the first one to have these, but once you take this out, you realize this is actually a very, very hefty sized, very, very nicely detailed, very, very cool Land Rover Defender 110. This one in steel blue, says 110 right there on the hood with some print. Defender on there as well. Looks very, very cool. Prints on the front look good. A little bit small on the print for the headlights, but still looks pretty good. That is a nice silver print. That looks very, very cool. Some cheaper wheels, but it does have suspension on it. It's got the roof rack and all that good stuff. It's got all the accessories on it. Got your ladder on it, your spare tire, the little tool box thing on the side here has a little bit of print on it. It's got the silver print on the back there. It says Range Rover Defender, which is very interesting. Land Rover there on the back as well. Taillights done up. Defender on the spare tire cover. Base details right there. We'll flip this around the right way. 1/64 Land Rover Defender 110. QY Toys right there. This is very nice. It's big. It's beefy. You see, it's very comparable to those Corollas. A very, very, very nice, sizable model. It feels good in the hand. It feels better than the A86s. All the blue you see, of course, is die-cast and plastic base. Pretty prototypical of most construction, even from domestic brands. But it's really, really nice. Side mirrors are metal, which are integrated. Has a snorkel right there, which is also integrated. Looks very, very good. Fully loaded. Really digging that one. That one's super, super cool. Of course, comes in a little bag right here. And kind of like Atomica, it pretty much fills up the entire box. So the box really makes it look like it's going to be a small model, but it is, in fact, not a small model. This one in white, nothing particularly fancy with this one, just in white versus the steel blue. So the details for the model will pop up a little bit better, at least in my opinion, I believe they will. Just because the color is easier to kind of take in all the details. So there is the snorkel on the side right there. There is the side profile. Again, looks very, very good. I think the wheel choice is not bad. I mean, it's a cheap wheel. You can tell it's a cheap wheel, but it doesn't look too bad. Details on the front are pretty decent. You'll see where the brake is right here. So the whole section here with the headlights and the grille and all that, that's part of the plastic, kind of lower part of the casting. 110 printed on this one too. Has all the accessories as well. All the details printed on the back. Looks good. Suspension as well. Really digging it. Super cool. I think these were super cool. I'm not sure if I remember what I paid for these, but I also got these from my buddy Nick. So the Land Rovers and the Corollas came from the same gentleman. He's usually got a lot of oddball stuff, so he's kind of been an oddball source for me for a little bit now. All right, moving on to something domestic but different. Hot Wheels Collectibles, limited edition, of course. This is the Sojourner, however you want to pronounce it, Mars Rover. This is the original Rover to land on Mars from, of course, JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratories. Nothing particularly fancy. There is the deets on the bottom, made in China, 1996, Mattel. So this has a cover that just comes off the top. Has a little pamphlet piece of paper in here, which kind of shows the kind of details right there. A little bit of information for the print. A little bit of, just some interesting information for you. You can always pause if you want to read that. Some more details right here. Try to get the glare out of there. So you can pause that part if you want to read that. And of course you can pause if you want to read that part as well. Now, the model itself is nothing particularly fancy. It is designed to be, it's got these weird creases in it. It is designed to just be a display piece. It is, however, 24 karat gold plated. It is all metal, so it does have this really nice die-cast base to it. So it has the date on there, Mars Rover. Not going to try to pronounce that again. But there is the Rover itself. Of course, this is all solid metal. All of this is metal. The Rover itself is plated in 24 karat gold. And then it does have a little antenna right here that you can put up. So you have an antenna for it, which is pretty cool. There is the top details with all the solar panels. This one was just meant to drive around and, basically just take readings and stuff like that from the atmosphere and all that good stuff like that before they sent rovers with drilling attachments and basically onboard labs. But this was the original OG one. Obviously, this was probably a big deal back in the day. That's why they made this collectible. It just sits in a little piece of styrofoam in there. Nothing particularly fancy. And then this little cover covers it. Normally there would be like a plastic piece or something in there to try to hold it in there. But I got this used. It wasn't new. It was used. So kind of put that guy to the left. All right, numero 5. Yes, another domestic brand. Really odd. I consider this an oddball. Yes, Power Scouts. Matchbox Power Scouts. Circa late 2000s. This was made when Matchbox was still going through their golden era. These are a modern representation of Stompers, and they were very excellent in their execution. The brand line of itself didn't last all that long. I think it lasted about 3 years. They did a bunch of different models. They did play sets and all kinds of stuff like that. This one, of course, is the Desert Thunder. 99% of the models they made were based on a mainline model. So they took a battery and stuff like that. I did pay $5 for this one. I've had this for quite a while. I'm still on the fence about cracking this one open. So I'm not going to crack this one open. These aren't particularly rare. You can get them on eBay, all the different Power Scout ones, anywhere from about 10 to about 25 or 30 bucks a piece. Play sets, if they're sealed, they can go for 50, 60 bucks just because they're older and sealed. But, even though they're like 15, 20 bucks a piece, they're not expensive. When you start adding up the amount of models that they had in there, they do get very, very expensive. So this gives you a little preview of some on the back here. That guy right there, of course, is the Baja Bandit, pulled straight out of the main line. This one right here is, of course, your OG Land Rover Defender 110, the original version of the casting, pulled straight out of the main line. That one right there is going to be your Ridge Raider. That yellow one right there, pulled straight out of the main line. This guy up here in the corner, the blue one, that is your Badlander. Of course, again, pulled straight out of the main line. We've already talked about the Desert Thunder. That's a different color for that one. And then, of course, this one right here. This one is, of course, the Volkswagen Beetle 4x4. And, of course, they all had winches on the front and stuff like that. Rock Ridge was a playset. Rolling Redwoods. Skulls Challenge. They were very, very cool. There was a on and off switch in the back, so they weren't like Stompers where you flipped a switch. You just push down on the back of the model, and it would turn on, and you would push it back down, and it would stop. And then you could work the winch individually. The winch was a little bit cumbersome because it's big, it's huge. It doesn't look huge on the Desert Thunder because the Desert Thunder is giant, but on the other ones it was a little bit cumbersome. It took only one AA battery. One single AA battery to power those. But that was a pretty cool piece. Someday, oh, and this one does have some pretty cool details on the top there, even though it is just a sticker, but that still looks pretty decent. So at some point in time, I do want to get more of these Power Scouts. Maybe that'll happen at the gathering. I don't know. I doubt it. You don't see stuff like that at the gathering, so I won't hold my breath. But anyways, there you guys go. That is 5 more oddballs from the collection for today's showcase. Let me know what you guys think about those. Let me know what your opinions are on those. You think those are oddball enough? You think those are weird enough? I'm digging this stuff. And I think it's kind of cool to throw in a couple of regular brands that are still odd, just to throw you guys a curveball. Anyways, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think about those. Don't forget to subscribe. Diecast, as always, all LMD. That's how we roll. Peace.